Starks Media.
Thank you again for tuning in to Starks Media Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Starks, and today's guest is John Eades. He is the CEO of LearnLoft and also an author of the book, Building the Best. So instead of wasting any more time, let's get into it. So how about you tell us your story and tell us what LearnLoft is all about?
My story, how far back do you want me to go, Bobby? I'll go from where it really started recently.
Okay.
I got the opportunity to lead a team. We were really struggling. I was about a year into that role of leadership. And I let one of my team members go. It couldn't have been John's fault, it had to be somebody else's. And she sat in my chair. She didn't know it was about to happen. It was a 45-minute dialogue, a lot of emotion. And at the end of that meeting, she said, John, I didn't know where we were going. I didn't know what we were doing. And I didn't know how it was helping us get there. It was in that moment that I realized that the problem was not my team. The problem was John and the way I was leading. And it showed me like the kind of impact and the influence that I had over the people that were in my sphere of influence. And it trickles down way beyond work, Bobby. It trickles down to all parts of life. And so it was in that moment when she left my office. I'm a pretty emotional guy. I might cry before the end of this podcast. And she left my office and I put my head in my hands and I cried like a baby. And I recognized that the problem was me. And that was a tough thing to realize. There's a guy named Jocko Willink. He says there are no bad teams, only bad leaders. And I was living proof of it. And I hated it. And I as I got the courage, I was wiping away the tears. And I said, God, I don't know why that just happened, but I'm going to do everything in my power to not let that happen to other people. And so the last 10 to 11 years has been all about trying to help managers and executives to lead their best and to lead to the best of their abilities. Not everybody's the same, but to become the best leader they can at home, at work, in their personal life. And that's what the journey's been like.
Was that your motivation to start LearnLoft?
It was my motivation to get in the leadership development space. Pain does strange things to people. I was in pain in that moment. I was in pain that I had failed my team from a leadership perspective. And it bothered me. So when pain happens in your life, whether it's personal or professional, it causes one of two things to happen. It causes you to pause, or it creates purpose. For me, it created purpose. And it created action behind that purpose that I wanted to do something about it. A lot of people, for whatever reason, that pain causes them to go into a shell, become a much smaller version of what they're ultimately intended to be. For me, it had a different event, and that's what caused me to get in the leadership development space.
So during that story, you were telling me that the feeling that you're about to cry on, do you think it's born leaders, or is it something that anybody can learn to do, is to become a leader? It's
a great question. There's a study done by Leadership Quarterly. Are leaders born or made? And what they found is that 24% of us, from a leadership perspective, is genetic, something that we're born with. 76% then is learned or developed. So I don't know if you're wired or I'm wired to be one of the greatest leaders ever. I don't know if I have those leadership genetics. I do know that you and I and anyone else that's listening can become a better leader. Because even the very best leader that comes to your mind right now, guess what they've had to do? Grow and develop as a leader. It's something that with experience and effort and confidence grows that you can lead yourself and others to a better place. I define leadership in Building the Best this way: someone whose actions inspire, empower, and serve in order to elevate others. It doesn't take a title to inspire, empower, and serve somebody else. It takes someone with the courage and the willingness to do it. And my experience has been the people that take ownership over themselves and leading right where they are, not only are they more fulfilled people in their own life, but they positively elevate those around them. And I don't know if there's a better thing to do in this world.
Just going back to you writing your book, Building the Best, and I know you interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people. Is there like a common trait that you would say that all good leaders have?
It's funny. I think at the end of the day, there's not only one way to lead. Like there's a lot of ways to cut a pizza, right? There's not only one perfect way. The commonalities across all these leaders across the board are that they find way to inspire people, meaning I'm not going to demand you to do something, but I'm going to inspire you to do it because you want to do it. The word inspire, what it means, Bobby, is to breathe life into. So just think about all the leaders in your life that you might think of leaders. Did they suck the life right out of you like a bad manager? Like you go home like you're just spent, like that guy is the worst or that woman is the worst? Or did they challenge you and help you become the best version of yourself, but at the same time breathe life into you so you know that they care about you? So I think if there's one commonality I think they do really well is they inspire their teams to become the very best version that they can be. And that's not always easy. I was just at lunch with a guy and he was talking about how he's in a position of leadership. He's a phenomenal person, but he really struggles to have the difficult conversation with his team. He knows what he needs to do, but he struggles to do it. He's like, who am I to tell them this? And I use the example of if anybody out there has children, if you're just going to allow someone, if you knew they were capable of more, would you just allow your kid to mail it in? Would you allow your kid to give half the effort that you know they're able to? I certainly would hope not. You know, and if you do that as a parent, it's time to change, which means that if there's a tough conversation or there's something that needs to be had with someone, breathing life into them isn't always easy. In fact, it might be a tough conversation. And a lot of people avoid those, unfortunately.
Let's just talk about the pandemic and in your realm. Do you think in light of the pandemic, leadership has changed at all? I mean, is it possible to be a good leader in a 100% remote environment?
Yes, leadership has changed. The fundamentals of leadership have not. And what I mean by the fundamentals, much like a golf swing, it's still going to come down to your grip, your posture, your technique, impact. The fundamentals of shooting a basketball or swinging a golf club are the same. But the game of golf has changed because of technology. The game of basketball has changed because of the way people shoot threes. Leadership is the same. The fundamentals remain, but the game of leadership has changed, and I'll explain what I mean. People have had a newfound flexibility. They used to go into the office 8 to 6, certain way. This is how we do things. The idea of a flexible workspace or work wherever you want, whenever you want, it was like a pipe dream for many people. And what's happened is that this pandemic, not only has it opened our eyes to how short life is or how short it can be, but it's also opened our eyes to different ways of working, different experiences of flexibility and freedom in our lives and our families and being able to do multiple things at one time, which means if I'm leading a team or responsible for leading other people, I then have to adapt my leadership style and the way that I communicate with my teams to the way they want to work. And so I do think the fundamentals are the same, but some of the techniques or strategies that a leader might use to meet and reach their team have changed.
Yeah, I've done some work for you in the past, and you seem to know how to navigate getting your word out there. I mean, you implemented videos, you sent it off to different clients that you had or partners, and I thought that was a pretty good idea, and it seemed like after you did it, a lot of people started following suit. And so that kind of helped out for me in a way because, you know, I'm in the video production company, so I was just helping other people get more video out there. How does video help you out during this whole...
I wish I didn't have a face for radio. That might have been more helpful in getting it out. No, I think communication is at the center of leadership. And so video is just a method or a medium of communicating. And when the world goes digital and people are working and there's lots of content and lots of things available to them to be distracted by, meeting them where they are is an important thing. And so I found early on that it's a medium that people enjoy receiving communication. So I tried to meet people where they are and where they were going, and that's why I chose video. But then again, not everybody learns the same. Not everybody likes to receive communication the same, which is why different mediums are required, which is why I still write, which is why I still do video, which is why I still do audio. There's lots of, we're wired to learn different ways. So I think as a leader, you have to be not just about what you want to deliver, but what message are you trying to get across, and what's the best medium to reach your people's hearts and minds. And I think that's where having a multi-pronged approach is important.
So what were some of the fundamentals that you used for yourself to execute yourself being a better leader for your team and maybe even yourself?
It's I think getting to know yourself becomes critical. I mean, like really who you are. I had to take a real deep look inside about not only who I was in the moment, but who I wanted to become. And I think too often people are looking at the immediacy, that give me that drip of dopamine right now. Like, just what's this quarter? What's this moment look like? And what it really taught me in this journey is looking at who do I want to become as a man, as a leader, as a father, as a husband. And that's deep work. And a lot of people that's why they don't want to do it. It's like going to the gym. It's not easy to get up and go to the gym every day. It's why people don't do it. But doing some of that deep work about who you are, what are some of your core values, what's the vision that you have for your life or the kind of impact that you want to have. Those are some of the things that I had to dig deep on. Not just, it's one thing to teach, it's nothing to eat your own dog food. And that was tough work for me. And sometimes that stuff's hard to look in the mirror and say, this isn't who I want to be. This isn't who I want to become. I was reflective of a story recently. A dad was really struggling, left his family when they were in high school. He didn't think it was a big deal. Thought they were self-sufficient. In that moment, what was right to him was to leave in that moment. And I've gotten to know one of his children and the impact that had on her. The rest of her life, it's the trickle-down effect of that one decision by that one man to leave in that moment about what he needed, and how much that's impacted her life, about who she wants to become now. And so I think sometimes when we make these decisions in the moment, we don't often reflect on the impact that it ultimately has on other people. I've been thinking about this word a lot lately, which is commitment. And one of our clients, they celebrate these employees that stay for 10 or 15 years, and they get them up. The whole company sees them. It's a big moment for them. And as I was watching this one recently, as a person that had been there 15 years, I imagined how she didn't feel like that every day for 15 years. In fact, she probably felt like, man, this is hard work, or why am I doing this? Our commitment in those smaller moments on a daily basis, it adds up whether you know it or not. I tell people all the time, there's a big difference in being interested and being committed. I mean, I had a good friend invited me to go hunting, and I was excited. So I got a gun, I got the gear, got up at 3:30 a.m., went out to the deer stand with them. It's 100 degrees, never shot the gun, never saw a deer, never been hunting again, okay? I was simply interested in hunting. Commitment is much different. Doing the things that you don't feel like doing, but you know it's the right thing to do, and doing that over and over and over again, even when no one notices, I promise it'll add up. It might not add up on the scoreboard that you want or that I want in my life, but it's going to add up for those that you get the opportunity to influence. And they're going to recognize, like, that guy or that woman showed up and did the right thing every single day. And you just hope in those moments that they remember you and they do those right things every day. So I do think there's a big difference in being interested and committed, and I think the best leaders are committed.
What do you think is the difference between like being a leader or a manager?
Well, there's a big difference. Being a manager is about a role that you have. Being a leader is about inspiring and empowering and serving those that you get the opportunity to lead. A manager puts together the spreadsheets or puts together the numbers or runs the payroll or all the critical things in that role that need to get done in the job. But it's far from leadership. And the majority of tasks that managers actually do in their role can be automated. Leadership can't be automated. A robot can't lead you. It can't lead me. Software can't lead me. Software can't lead you. I can sit across this table right now and I could inspire you to go do something when we leave. I could tell a story that says, man, I want to go help the needy or go to this, or call someone I haven't called in a long time just to check in. And that's what leaders do. They breathe life into people. They inspire them. They go do more, be more, become more. So there is a dramatic difference, and one is essential today. One is becoming less essential today.
You think leadership is kind of like a lonely position? Because like nobody's coming up to you and just being like, hey, good job.
Yeah, there's an old quote out there that says, it's lonely at the top, is the quote about leadership. I fundamentally disagree. Is leading hard? Absolutely. Do you always get the credit that it deserves? No, you do not. It's far from lonely. It's only lonely when you're not leading people, when we don't have people around you and you don't build a team. I mean, you go ask any basketball coach or football coach that are great leaders, if they feel lonely, there's not a chance. Surrounded by people all the time. I think there is a tendency for leaders to not get so used to pouring into other people and looking out for others people's best interests that they forget to do that for themselves. And that's when it could get a little lonely, meaning you don't recognize that, I haven't taken care of my health or my finances or my marriage or the relationship with my kids. And I could see where then those people that felt like I'm not getting taken care of by this person and they're giving all their energy to this team or this job or these people, that's where it could get lonely. But I don't think leadership's lonely at all.
I want to take it back to where you said you're lonely as long as you're not leading. So you haven't made it to this point yet. You're not retired. And I only know a few retired people. So do you think it's harder for somebody that's maybe in that leadership position like CEOs or, big executive people, and that time comes around where, maybe they're forced to retire or they're just at that age to retire? Do you think it's harder for them to come up with that, or not come up with anything, but to accept that than somebody maybe that was just working in finance or accounting and there's like at the time of their 20 years and they're done?
I don't know. I do know that we all have a finite amount of time that we're in a position. Every role in the world runs out of time. Somebody else is going to have it at some point. The Pope, somebody else is going to be the Pope. The President of the United States, someone else is going to be the President of the United States. CEO of Bank of America, someone else is going to be that. So when you start thinking of leadership in that way, that you only get the roles or these responsibilities, these opportunities, you could call them, for a finite amount of time, wouldn't you want to give your very best while you have them? So there's a last day for all of us at some point. Whether you're the CEO, it doesn't matter if you've been wealthy or poor or rich, or an ass or the nicest guy in the world. There's an end time for all of us. So I come from the perspective, and I think when I've studied every great leader that I've interviewed, or they relish those opportunities while they have them. Like, they know that they're not going to be the CEO forever, so as long as they're in that seat, they're going to give it everything they have. And I think that's an incredible lesson for all of us right now. Your families, those relationships aren't guaranteed forever. Relationship with a parent, relationship with a child. It's a humbling thought, really, to think about, am I attached to my phone or distracted by something else when I have this person sitting right in front of me that I might not sit down with again? Or, I mean, it's humbling. Mm-hmm. And we don't think like that. We think about like what's buzzing in our pocket.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate. But I'm a positive and optimistic thinker. Mm-hmm. And I think there's going to be some inverse effect of social media and technology, meaning it's not going away. It's a part of our lives forever, and it will be. I do think there will be a time where people are going to say, does this even really matter? How many followers I have? Does it even matter how many people like this picture or this video? Versus the person that they're sitting across being like, guess what? If my funeral was tomorrow, I know they would be there.
Yeah, that's good to think about, actually. And you're right. Social media is part of our lives, and sometimes I even get wrapped up into it, like, why isn't this one getting as many followings or likes than maybe something I posted a month ago? And I've put so much more time and effort into something, and it's just like barely getting any traction. And I even think about that, and I try not to let it bother me, but
it's hard.
It is hard.
It's hard. And I'm not knocking social media or technology. I'm not. It's a great way to communicate. It's a great way to grow a business. Great way to, inspire people. But there is a dark side to it, and comparison is that dark side.
Is there anybody that inspires you?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that inspire me. C.S. Lewis, he's passed away a long time ago. As I've gotten older, I try to read more. I read a lot and I listen a lot. C.S. Lewis, speaking of comparison, C.S. Lewis is a Christian writer that wrote about a lot of deep topics that's related to our human nature and our soul. And he famously said, comparison is the thief of joy. So social media, why is this picture? And I'm not saying don't look for new strategies to do and try to improve, but if it's to compare yourself against somebody else or to prop yourself up to make you feel better, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So C.S. Lewis is one. I'm thinking of Ryan Holiday has become someone that I respect a great deal. His writing is I've always enjoyed reading his stuff. There's a man that I'll give a lot of credit to. His name is John Gordon. John Gordon wrote a book called The Energy Bus and the Power of Positive Leadership. And I haven't spent a ton of time with John, but I'll tell this quick story. When I figured out that I wanted to write books and speak about leadership, I had read John's book, The Energy Bus. And it's a fable story, and it hit me right what I needed at that time. What most people say, writing hits you right when you need it, right? And I didn't want to meet him at a conference, so I reached out to him, and I knew his daughter was going to Clemson, and I said, I'd love to meet you at a Clemson football game, a weekend that you're going to go see your daughter. I figured I'd do that if I was a dad. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go to this game. Do you want to meet then? And he came over to the tailgate, and he spent 45 minutes or an hour with at the time, a 32-year-old guy that he didn't know from Adam. And it made a big impression on me. And so when I get LinkedIn messages or notes about interviews or spending time with college kids or someone that needs help, I'm eager to do it because of people like John Gordon. So he might not even remember that, And that's kind of the beauty of life. Yeah. Is that he took the time to do that in that moment, and I try to give back because someone did it for me. So John Gordon, give him some credit.
In that case, is there anybody that you want to inspire? I'm sure you inspire a lot of people all the time, but is there a specific?
I've been thinking, there's not one person specifically or one type of audience. But I will say, when I would like more people, regardless of their age or their gender, to do things that get their emotions involved. When you feel something about the work that you do, or you feel something about being involved in something, you feel alive. You're more engaged at work. And I'm not saying there aren't things about your job that you might not like and you have to do. Work is not always meant to be easy. But I would like more people to do things that even if they fail, they'll feel alive. Even if they struggle, even if they post that picture and nobody likes it, they feel alive when they're posting it, or they feel alive when they did this interview. I would prefer that versus going through life acting like they don't matter. There's an old quote that a guy told me, a mentor of mine. He said, "Failure is not final, failure is feedback." And it's always stuck with me, because even these moments when I fail at work, or this article doesn't do well, or the book doesn't do as well as you want, or that speaking engagement doesn't go as well as I want, boy, did I feel alive during it. Or boy, did I feel alive when I was creating it. More people doing things that get that emotion going in them is it'll inspire your kids to do the same. It'll inspire those around you to do the same. So I want more emotion to the surface in people. I think it would help them. I'll tell one really quick story. Yeah. I got the opportunity to speak at a conference in New York. And it was the most intimidating speaking engagement I've ever done. It was for an association in New York that they're the security guards in jails. Okay. Not the easiest people to get under their skin, like to get to their heart. I mean, they've created a skin over themselves and their heart because of what they see every day. Mm-hmm. And here this, at the time, like a 36-year-old white guy is in a room of 100, hardworking people that in jails all over the state of New York, and I bombed. I mean, I really did. It was one of the worst hours and a half I've ever had in my life. And I'll never forget, I got off that stage and I just was like, maybe I'm not good enough to do this. And it was in that moment that I remembered failure is not final, failure is feedback. And I took out a notebook and I wrote down everything that I learned that I would need to do better from that talk. I kid you not, 9 months go by. My phone rings. Same association. Invites me back to speak the next year. I'm like, were they not at the first one? I went back up, same crowd, did 10 times better the second time. And I tell that story only because if you're willing to give up after one time, you're never going to reach your full potential. And getting better at anything, building confidence, it comes from consistent daily repetition, and it's steeped in the work. And I'm far from a finished product, just like you're far from a finished product. But that attitude that like today's an opportunity to get better, and no matter what it is that you're doing in life, is the right attitude to have. And I think it's what the best leaders do. They're constantly looking for ways to improve. Their marriage, their job, the way they interact with their people, the way they, like it's a I'm never going to settle for average mentality. And I appreciate that in people.
So you mentioned something earlier, and I just want to bring it up in a corporate setting. So, and I've been part of it too, say somebody's in corporate life, they're working finance, and they've been there for 5 years, and they worked really hard into it, and they got to this certain position because they worked hard for 5 years, and all of a sudden they have a promotion. Now they need to lead somebody else that they were good at, or multiple teams. What can corporations do to be better to help maybe these individuals that get that promotion to start helping them lead instead of being micromanaged to that point? Because I think that's what happens is you get really good at a role and then you want to micromanage everybody because you were really good at that role. So again, my question is, what can corporations do better to help those people move forward and be better leaders instead of just management?
The first thing they can do is to promote people that have a heart for leadership, that have a heart for people, not just as a retention tool. That's the first thing they can do, is to evaluate whether that person has a heart for inspiring and empowering and serving people. That is the first thing. After that by itself isn't enough. Go back to our leaders born or made. They're made and they're developed through a lot of hard work and experience and dedication and training. You have to provide them opportunities to grow their leadership skills in a safe environment. I'm not saying they're going to be leading, they're going to be running meetings, they're going to be having one-on-ones. Like, those are experiences that they're going to have. You also have to create a safe space for them to fail where it's not going to negatively impact somebody else or someone that they're getting the opportunity to lead. They're going to probably do that anyways. Leadership is hard. But create safe spaces, training environments, pairing them with mentors, putting them in situations where they can work and develop their skills so they feel equipped and they build that confidence that they can do it. So number one, promote the right people that have a heart for leadership. And number two, provide them opportunities to learn and grow and develop their skills. It takes time. Everybody wants it right now, like the microwave generation. Guess what? That's not the way leadership works. You're a better leader today than you were when you started this organization.
True.
I'm a better leader than I was when I started leading a team 10 years ago. It takes time. People just don't want to wait. They want it right now. So we'll go hire somebody else immediately. Terrible, terrible strategy. And in this world we're living in right now, in this great resignation where I had a client leave an organization for $5,000 raise, and it wasn't about the money. She left because she wasn't known and felt like she belonged with her manager. Now just think about that. They've spent 3 years developing, molding, paying this person a lot of money. She had a team, but because her manager didn't know how to lead, she left for $5,000 more. You know how much it's going to cost that organization to rehire someone as good as her?
And time and resources and everything.
It's 2x her salary. Mm-hmm. So if she's making $150,000, it's going to cost them $300,000 in time, money, development to get some up to speed. And she left for $5,000. Tell me organizations and HR and executives don't play a big role. You've lost your mind. And more HR leaders or learning and development leaders or executives to have that mindset that one of my number one responsibilities is to retain my people. It's a big one. It's a big one.
That is big. That's crazy. How much is it usually?
Well, multiply that by 25 people leaving.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about a $295,000 difference times 25, not one. Mm-hmm. Most organizations can withstand one high performer leaving and $295,000 over 2 years. But when you times it by 25 or by 50 or a turnover rate that's 35%, now all of a sudden you got to bring in a lot of revenue to cover that. So, yeah, those are my two big takeaways. I'm passionate about that one.
Yeah, I see it. So during the pandemic, did you like learn any new skills or pick up a hobby or maybe something you learned and you want other people to know?
I rededicated myself to something.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What is that?
I rededicated myself to the game of golf.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I have a good friend. For those that don't know, I played college golf at the University of Maryland on a scholarship. And then I played a couple years professionally afterwards before I got into the professional world. And it's always been a big part of my life, really, since I was 5 years old, football and golf. And you hit a point where you near 40 and you're like, I'm either going to not play anymore because I'm used to playing at a certain level, or I'm going to rededicate myself to the game. And during COVID, with everything closed, the only thing that was open was my golf club. So I rededicated myself to the game. I got a new golf teacher, took some lessons. I went to work on improving my game, my physical fitness. I went all in.
Oh, wow.
So
You're already really good.
I'm pretty good. Yeah, I can hold my own. But it's just, so that's something that I've rededicated myself to, just knowing that I only have a certain window of age where I'm not Tom Brady or something. So I've rededicated myself to that craft and trying to work at it. That's one thing I've definitely rededicated myself to.
Nice.
One other thing.
Yeah.
I've just thought about this. I'm 279 days into listening to the Bible every single day. There's a Catholic priest named, he's a great man. He's a phenomenal man. And they started a podcast at the beginning of this year called Bible in a Year. Real catchy marketing title. And I've read over the years the Bible and all the stories in it, but never in a year or through the entire Old Testament. And I thought I learn best audibly, so I'll create a habit where I listen to 20 minutes a day of him reading the Bible and then giving commentary. And I've stuck with it throughout the whole year.
You got to do it for 365?
Oh, well, I'm not stopping now. Now it's just a test.
Yeah.
But it's been a great discipline in my life. Some days I don't feel like it. Some days I don't get a lot from it. But it's the discipline of showing up and doing it and letting it seep in, however way it's working. And think about the confidence that it provides. That if I can do something for 365 straight days, what else can I do?
Mm-hmm. How does that fall into your routine, though? Do you do it in the morning? Do you do it at night before you go to bed?
I do it in the morning. Typically on the way to the office, I'll listen to it. If I don't finish, I'll finish it on the way home. And then other nights, I'll do it. If I don't get it in the morning, I'll do it in bed. I'll put the AirPods in and listen to it.
Nice.
Hopefully I don't fall asleep. But no, it's been a really great gift that I picked up through this. His name is Father Mike Schmitz. But the only reason why I say that is it's a test, Bobby. Like sticking with something, committing to, I'm going to listen to the Bible in a year, is a commitment that I'm making. And then it's a test. Like, can I create the habits every single day to let me to continue to do this? And I tell people in leadership workshops and in keynotes all the time, only leaders who are tested become great. Mm-hmm. That old adage of iron sharpens iron. Like, if you can survive that test, you're going to come out on the other side better off. This goes way beyond a habit of listening to a podcast every day. It's life. And so I'm really encouraged. I'm proud of myself, actually. I really am.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's always cool. Oh, yeah, I gotta hear about the 365. I'm gonna text you back. I'm like, hey man.
Now I got an accountability partner.
I was like, hey, it's 365 days. Are you still listening?
And you know what? There's an author that I liked. His name is James Clear, and he wrote a book about habits. And he said something in it that really stood out to me. He goes, "You've got to give yourself the grace to know that you're human, and you're not going to do it every single day, whatever the habit is. It's just human nature. You're going to be sick, tired, don't feel like it, whatever. but can you not miss 2 days? Like, because once 2 days and then 3 days and then 4 days, all of a sudden you got a new habit and it's not the habit that you want. Yeah. So I think about that often. That lesson is I don't expect myself to be perfect. If I miss a day, I'm okay. I just can't miss 2 days. And that's the adage I've taken, and some days I've had to listen to 2 or whatever. But that kind of mentality that if you're gonna, I'll kind of close with this. There's a lesson in building the best, and this is what it says. It's called the route to results. Standards produce behaviors. Behaviors become habits. Habits become your results. All a standard is defining what good looks like. That's all that it means. Great leaders don't define what good looks like, they define what great looks like. So what does great look like from a standard perspective? That is gonna then, in turn, my behavior or the behaviors of people that I'm leading to meet that standard. All a behavior is a conscious decision that you have to make to do something. When you do it for 33 to 66 straight days, that behavior becomes a habit. Something that you do so often, it becomes the very essence of your being. That's what a habit is. You don't even think about it, you just do it. And when you get the right behaviors to become the right habits, you're gonna get what? Great results. So when you think about leadership or life or anything, the route to results, what are my standards? Defining what great looks like, that's gonna produce behaviors out of you. When you do it 33 to 66 straight times, it's gonna become a habit. Those habits become your results. And it's powerful for leaders, it's powerful for you, it's powerful for me, the route to results.
I don't think you could have ended a podcast any better than that.
Thanks for having me.
I loved it, man. Hey, if anybody is interested in buying Building the Best, I'll link the links. What are you on Amazon?
So yeah.
I'll find it on your website.
Yeah.
I'll get all the links in the description, and I'll put your website on there too.
Be great.
Yeah. Thanks a lot,
for having
man.
me.
Yeah. Peace.
You want to solve all your business problems? We have solutions for you. Awesome content that is hard to resist. That is simply what we do. Creative content that boosts your business. Our methods are foolproof. Just give us a call, we'll hear your vision and bring your ideas to life. We are Starks Media. Everything creative, we can make it happen. We are Starks Media. This is your chance to make your custom